Today's lesson is on SOL 6.10 C and D, which dealt with perimeter, area, surface area, and volume. And if you remember, when we did these, we were always given a formula, and that's why I went ahead and listed the shapes. It'll look just like it does on your formula sheet right here. But I just want to review a little bit of the different parts of what everything is. So if you remember, perimeter is the distance around of a shape. So the distance around a shape. And in perimeter, this would be like real life thing when they're asking you to find fencing or how much a border is, fencing, border. Things like that would deal with perimeter. So the distance around a shape. And if you look down here below, we have two perimeter formulas that are given to us. I'll be honest, guys, we never use the square. Because if you think about quadrilaterals, we know that a rectangle, or excuse me, a square is a rectangle, so we always just use this formula. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Or sometimes some of you even just thought, hey, I know that for perimeter, I can just add. You add all the sides for perimeter. And that will also work just well. Now area. Area is the amount of space inside a 2D shape. Space inside a 2D shape. And I do say 2D because that's going to make a difference when we get over here to our prisms that are 3D. The inside is called volume, so that is a big deal to know the difference. And so the space inside a 2D shape, this would be like when they're asking like how much carpet you put down, how much tile, how much flooring, how much paint you're going to paint something with. That is going to be area. And we did area with two different shapes. Well, excuse me, 3 different shapes. We also did it with a circle, but the one this lesson focuses on, we did it with a triangle. And for that, we use the formula area equals 1/2 base times height. And we knew it was timesing because they're all touching right here. And think about it. In our calculator, what number do we use for a half? If you don't like that that 1/2, we use 0.5 times the base times the height. Now it shows area of a square, guys. I'm going to go ahead and just mark this one out. We have not dealt with a square at all. When I told you if you came to a square or a rectangle, we did length times width. Area equaled length times width. So those were the two shapes that we focused on doing area. So then we came to our two things that dealt with our rectangular prism. And that was surface area and volume. And both of these were over here. If you look, we have a V and an SA. And so for surface area, if you remember surface area, it's literally what it sounds like. It's the area of the surfaces. It's the sum, which we know means plus. It's the sum of the area of the surfaces. And a real life example of this would be like wrapping paper. When you're building a box, how much cardboard is needed? When you're building something, it's the outside part of your box. Think of a tissue box. It's not the amount of tissues, but the actual box that's used to create the outside part. So we have surface area. And that was that really long formula down here, but that's okay. We said it's okay. We just copy our formula each time, and then we substitute in our length, width, and height. And then the last one that dealt with in this unit is volume. And volume is the space inside of a 3D shape. So it's the space inside a 3D shape. And this would be like when they ask you how much it takes to fill something. How much can something hold? It's the space inside. And it only works, if you look, the formula, the volume formula is only underneath the prism, so it only works with a 3D shape. You'll learn more 3D shapes in 7th grade, but for now the one we're working on is a rectangular prism. So perimeter, area, surface area, and volume are these 4 that we're looking at right now. So I want to look at number 1 together, only to remind you of what I expect on each one of these problems. And that is that, and guys, I'm just giving you a heads up, I know Miss Yost and Miss Newman and Miss Newsom all require that you do the same thing in 7th and 8th grade as well, and that is show your formula. So let's read number 1. It says, what is the area of the right triangle? Well, we know it's a triangle. So I look, and it said area and triangle. So I go up here, and I find my triangle, and I copy down my formula. That should be the very first thing that you do. Like I said, you should get in this habit. I can guarantee that your 7th grade teachers will require that you write the formula. And then we do our substitution. Well, for 1/2, I'm going to substitute my decimal. That was 0.5. That way I can do it in my calculator. Times my base. Now, guys, I'll be honest. If you get these backwards, it's not the end of the world. You will get the same answer. But I usually use the longer bottom one as my base. Times my height. So now that I've done my substitution, I can plug this in the calculator. 0.5 times 40 times 20. And if you do that, you would get C, 400 centimeters squared. At this time, you may go ahead and continue working on this review lesson.